It's unlikely you'll come across any two phones this year that are as similar as the OnePlus 9 Pro and the Oppo Find X3 Pro. Besides being owned by the same company, Oppo and OnePlus's flagships share a lot of common hardware. In fact, side by side, these could easily be two variants of the same device. Both run a Snapdragon 888 chipset, both have equally excellent 120Hz 6.7-inch displays with LTPO technology to improve battery life, both offer capable in-screen fingerprint security alongside Face Unlock, and both are fitted with the same dual-cell 4500 mAh battery with 65W wired charging plus a fast wireless option. And if you buy them in Europe, they'll both pack 5G connectivity and dual SIM convenience. Even the hand feel here is pretty similar, though the OnePlus phone is ever so slightly heavier. So it's the external hardware more than the internals that sets these two phones apart. While I'm a fan of the OnePlus 9 Pro's gradient finish, which fades from opaque to a brilliant mirror shine, the technical win has to go to Oppo for the audacity of its curved camera hump, which is a first in any mainstream smartphone. These are both great looking phones though, and given the similarity in size, you'll find both equally easy or difficult to use with one hand, depending on your own personal preferences. Neither is unmanageably huge, but equally these two are not small phones. Another long-standing OnePlus convenience that I appreciate is the iPhone-style alert slider for quickly silencing the device. It's a rarity in the Android world, but it's been with OnePlus since the OnePlus One. While the battery capacities and wired charging speeds are identical, OnePlus benefits from quicker wireless top-ups. The 9 Pro is the first mainstream phone to ship with 50W wireless charging, assuming you cough up the cash for OnePlus's proprietary charging pad. On the Oppo side, you're limited to 30W wirelessly, which admittedly is still faster than most phones can charge even over a cable. While on paper both phones seem like they should have similar battery life, I have noticed more aggressive background battery depletion on the Find X3 Pro, especially when playing streaming media in the background. That means you may find the Oppo device requires an earlier top-up if you're doing a lot of streaming. Some of these battery differences might also be explained by OnePlus's screen being able to clock all the way down to 1Hz when looking at still images versus 10Hz on the Find X3 Pro. In either case, both phones offer around a day of longevity, but usually not much more than that. So unless you're in China where OnePlus's phones now run Oppo's ColorOS software, the biggest difference you'll notice in everyday use between these two devices is the software and the UI. Both have dramatically different design languages, with Oppo focusing on more of an iPhone-style aesthetic, and OnePlus staying much closer to vanilla Android. Oppo's software is also arguably more feature-rich, with things like a fully-fledged windowed mode built into its multitasking capabilities. That's useful if you like to juggle a lot of apps at the same time, and can even be used to force video apps without a picture-in-picture mode into a window. I've also enjoyed Oppo's quick shortcut feature, which lets you conjure a wheel of favourite apps to jump straight into after unlocking. OnePlus has been more conservative with its version of Android despite the recent visual overhaul in OxygenOS 11. There's a lighter touch to OnePlus's customization, though there are plenty of options for you to customize your own device with accent colors, icon cutouts, and font options. However, OnePlus lacks Oppo's windowed multitasking, as well as a few other conveniences like the one-handed usability mode. Both phones have pretty tight Google integration into their software, though they go about this in different ways. Both Oppo and OnePlus now use Google's Dialer and Android Messages apps out of the box, along with the Google Discover feed on the home screen, and Oppo also offers direct access to Google Translate from within any app via either a 3-finger swipe or the slide-out shortcut menu that's pinned to the edge of the screen. So the choice between the two software experiences in part comes down to aesthetics. Do you prefer the distinctive look of ColorOS or the cleaner appearance of OxygenOS? Also, how quick do you like your Android updates, because OnePlus has the lead here, and do you want all those extra ColorOS features? Photography is arguably where these two phones really start to diverge though. Both offer a quad camera setup, though with different lenses and sensors and completely different approaches to image processing. Oppo has the same sensor behind its ultra-wide and wide cameras, Sony's new IMX766, while OnePlus has a larger custom-made IMX789 for its primary, alongside the same IMX766 for the ultra-wide. OnePlus's advantage in sensor size means there's a noticeable difference in stills from those main cameras. OnePlus just captures more light, so shots look brighter and clearer in darker conditions. In daylight, there's less of a difference in terms of clarity, but there you'll see the gulf in post-processing. OnePlus's new partnership with Hasselblad for image tuning means its phone produces more natural-looking colors with a less aggressive HDR effect. Oppo cranks up the saturation much more aggressively, and its AI HDR feature pulls a lot of color out of the shadows, sometimes even giving pictures a slightly psychedelic quality. The larger sensor combined with Hasselblad's color science also gives OnePlus a small edge when it comes to pulling colors out of very dark night scenes. Oppo's night shots tend to be darker and more contrasty, which some people may prefer, though there's definitely more light being pulled out of darker areas with the OnePlus phone. Both brands are relatively weak in the telephoto department this year, with Oppo having only a 13-megapixel 2x zoom and OnePlus with an 8-megapixel 3.3x zoom. With either lens, you're not going to get usable pictures at much beyond 4 or 5x zoom, though that said, OnePlus's processing seemed to do a better job in my nighttime zoom shots. At around 10x, it's kind of a toss-up, you get soft and blurry with OnePlus, or sharp and noisy with Oppo. As for the fourth cameras, OnePlus fits the 9 Pro with a largely useless 2-megapixel monochrome that's supposed to add extra light information for black and white shots. Meanwhile, Oppo offers a low-resolution microscope camera that's hard to focus, but fun once you get the hang of it. It's definitely a gimmick though, and something you'll likely forget is even there after a few days. Video performance is similarly strong across both phones, with excellent stabilization from the wide and ultra-wide cameras of the OnePlus 9 Pro and the Find X3 Pro, and little difference outside of very dark conditions, where OnePlus pulls ahead slightly with that larger main sensor. Bigger differences you might see will come from Oppo's AI HDR, which can compensate a bit more aggressively in backlit video conditions. There are a few other points of distinction though. OnePlus can shoot 8K video at 30 frames per second, or 4K at up to 120 frames per second, both niche features which are lacking on the Oppo side. But Oppo does have a pretty fun manual film mode that gives you full control of ISO, shutter speed, and a manual slider focus. Plus, Oppo actually uses its telephoto camera for zoomed video, unlike OnePlus, which gives you a digital crop when you zoom in. Not a huge deal given the relatively low quality of that telephoto, but on the Oppo side, that could be useful for closer cropped video in well-lit scenes. Finally, the starting price for both phones is also worth considering. If you're in the UK, then the base model of the OnePlus 9 Pro will sell for £100 less than the Find X3 Pro, but you will have more carrier options with the Oppo phone if you're buying on a plan. For an unlocked purchase though, there's no doubt in my mind that OnePlus gives you a bigger bang for your buck, but there is definitely something to be said for Oppo's unique design and software features. So which one would you pick, the Oppo Find X3 Pro or the OnePlus 9 Pro? Let us know down in the comments and subscribe to Android Central so you don't miss all our future reviews and comparisons. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.